everybody. Hope you had a wonderful Easter. It's Monday, April 1st, and we're back to share another video with you. And this time it's going to be about an old-fashioned chicken pot pie recipe. We're making a family-style size, and you can cut this recipe in half to make just maybe an 8x8 square pan, if that's all you need. But we're making a family-style dish tonight because we have a lot of company coming. So if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And stay tuned for more recipes coming up. So we're going to start with on a medium heat. I'm going to add probably about 4 to 5 tablespoons of some olive oil. And I say give or take a little bit, 4 to 5, or just, you know, where you're comfortable at. And then to this, I'm going to also add in about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter. You can use salted or unsalted. I use a lot of unsalted because I do a lot of bacon, but either one will work. If you do use salted though, just be a little bit careful about how much salt you add to your ingredients so you don't get too much in there. So I have 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And probably 4 to 5 tablespoons, I would say, like I said, of the olive oil. So I'm going to add, I have 2.5 cups of diced carrots. I diced these up real fine because carrots take such a long time to get tender anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and add these in to the butter and the olive oil. And that'll start coming up to heat. This pan heats up pretty quick, so I don't have to worry about it laying in there and just some butter and stuff, because it does warm up. And I'm just moving it around so I can coat the carrots really good. So I'm going to take and add in I would say a medium-sized yellow onion. Doesn't have to be yellow. I've diced all this up, and it is probably a medium-sized yellow onion though. I went ahead and diced that, got that ready. And I'll go ahead and I'll add these in. Now, I like celery in my chicken pot pie, but the drawbacks to it, it does take a long time to cook and get tender. So what I have found, what I do, in place of adding the chopped up celery, I actually use I use celery flakes. They're dehydrated, and they have a good flavor, and they don't take near the time to cook as your traditional celery that's on the stalk. So I have, I think about a 1/3 cup of this dehydrated celery flakes. And that's something that you can omit if it's something that you don't like. But I love the celery. I just don't like the time that it takes to cook it. But this works pretty much just as well. I've used it a lot in different recipes, and it really saves the cooking time. It cuts way down on that. So I have these items here that are going to just saute here and kind of mix all in together, the flavors and everything. And then what I have next is I have a tablespoon of garlic powder. This happens to have just a little bit of parsley in it. It doesn't have to. It's just 1 tablespoon garlic powder. I have 1 teaspoon of table salt. I have 1 teaspoon of finely ground black pepper. We got those in. And this is something that you could easily make this mixture up the night before if you're in a hurry, or if you have company coming. And the next morning you could just get up, kind of take the chill off of it, and get it ready for your oven. And speaking of ovens, I have my oven heated at 350 degrees for this recipe. And I'm going to turn my flame down. I just want this to kind of all chill out together and get a little tender here before we put it in the oven. It smells wonderful. Oh, I just love onion and celery. That smell together makes me always think of Thanksgiving for some reason. I hope all of you had a nice Easter. We actually kept it kind of simple. We had a brunch, and then we ended up at my daughter's house. We had some barbecued ribs, and we had some cheese and steak quesadillas. We had just a little bit of everything. So, but there was family together, and that's all that counts. So it did turn out to be really nice. So now while that's kind of just hanging out together there and getting acquainted with each other, I'm going to show you how I make my crust. But give me just 1 second because I got to get my dish. Hi everybody, I'm back. I went and I got my pan, and I just wanted to give you a look down in my skillet and kind of let you see what's going on in here. This is the carrots, the celery, the onion, garlic powder, black pepper, the table salt, all just kind of coming together here. And I have it just on a kind of a gentle low flame. I have a gas oven or gas cooktop, so I have mine pretty much on just a low. I don't want this to scorch or anything. And I'm going to let this continue to cook and kind of hang out. I'm not going to cover it with my lid right now or anything. And so for my crust, well, first off, I got my pan here. This is the one I was looking for. This is my 9x13. It's a casserole pan, a glass dish. And it's my old Paula Deen one that I bought years ago, and I don't have managed to not break it, but it's one of my go-to for everything like this. So anyway, for my crust, I'm going to be using a pastry dough. Now, you can use biscuits on this. You can use the crescent roll dough. You can use that, but I'm using actual, it is actually the puff pastry. I just buy it at my local market. It comes 1 to a tube. It's a sheet in one package, so I always buy 2 of them. But you don't have to use 2 crusts. I like a top crust, and I also like a bottom crust. So I have 2 of them. So I have had them out of the refrigerator for probably about 5 minutes, just so I can handle it a little bit easier. And I'm going to take one, because like I said, I like a 2 crust pie. And you can make these, speaking of pie, you can make it even in a round pie pan if you like. So anyway, I'm going to just take and put just a dab, a very small bit of flour on this, just so it doesn't stick to my rolling pin. I want to thin it out a little bit more before I put this in my oven. So I do have my rolling pin here. And now that I showed you all of this, I'm going to go ahead and toss this. And any, like I said, you can use biscuits. You can make your own pie dough, or you can use anything that you like. I just seem to love the puff pastry. It's easy to work with, and it's got a wonderful buttery flavor to it. But I'm just going to make it just a little bit thinner here. And just see how nicely that it just really behaves. So this should fit down nicely in my casserole dish here. And even though this does have a lot of butter in it, I'm still just going to lightly take some spray, cooking spray, and just kind of hit and miss. Not much, just a little bit, just to kind of protect any filling that might come out of this while it's baking. So now I'm going to take this here, and you can trim this down if you think that it's too large or too long for you. I kind of just push it down in there, and it will shrink a little bit. I've had this out, like I said, for about 5 minutes, but my kitchen is pretty warm today. In fact, I've opened my windows up. We've had a really pretty spring day. It's been raining, a soft rain, but it hasn't actually been too bad today at all. So I'm going to start flipping this into my casserole pan here. And I'll pull this out. And if it gets like this, you know, you can always stick this if you think that you need to chill it a little bit. You can always just stick it right back in your refrigerator for just a couple of minutes. Now I am going to just trim this a little tiny bit, not too much, but just enough so it's just not overly thick. I pressed this together a little bit here, and I'm just going to take my knife and just come like along here. I want it up a little ways, or you could leave it if you like. I love crust, but not everybody wants a lot of crust. but I'm going to just take it down about right here. You could leave it also and just fold it right over the top of your filling. But I like it just to come up enough on the sides where when I put in the filling that it's not going to sink underneath. So that's the nice thing that I really like about using the puff pastry is I have a little more control over how far I can stretch it, and because it will shrink up a little bit in the oven, especially since it is a little bit warm. So I'm just adding it just enough, just taking it down enough to where it's not just real thick here on the edges. And like I said, you don't even have to use a bottom crust. I just like it because I feel like it catches all of the filling, and it just gives it a much better flavor. So now I've trimmed this down just to kind of fit inside my pan. And like I said, the trimming actually is optional. You don't have to. And I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to poke some holes in this just to keep it from puffing up, because I do know it's going to shrink. My other one I will probably pop back in to the refrigerator just to let it firm up just a little bit while I finish the filling here. So this is going to go into my preheated oven at 350 for probably about 8 minutes, but I will keep an eye on it in between. So while I've got my puff pastry in the oven, I'm going to just give this a little more of a stir, and I can tell that it's about ready for me to start adding in some liquid here. We're going to deglaze this a little bit and get all that good stuff off of the bottom. And by deglazing, what I have here is it's a 12-ounce jar of chicken gravy, and I think it just gives more flavor. What I did is I'm using a rotisserie chicken. To save time, you can roast your own or even boil. But I took this and I had a little bit of stock from the bottom of the pan in the rotisserie chicken. So I also poured that in. This is going to make it really rich and flavorful. So I have probably about close to 1 3/4 cups that I'm going to pour in, and I'm going to kind of deglaze this now. I don't want to lose any flavor. So you can see how that's just really thickened everything up nice. And I will leave this set just in case we need a little more liquid. But I have here that I'm going to add. And since this is I'm making a large a 9x13 pan, and if you're a smaller portion, you might just have to use 1 can. But I've got 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, and they are a 10.5-ounce can. I'm going to add in 2 of these, only because I just like it really nice and creamy. Some people use the frozen vegetables, and you can do that too. I just like to use the fresh ones and dice them up. But if you are in a hurry, you can buy the frozen vegetables in a bag, and that would save you a little bit of time right there if you're really rushed. Then I also have a 10.5-ounce can of cream of mushroom soup that I'm going to add. This might look like a lot, but trust me, once it goes in and that bottom crust soaks up the filling, it will not be too much, I promise you. The birds are really out today. They're loving this rain that we're getting. And it is a nice day. I've even opened up the windows and getting a nice breeze in here. It's really nice. Now I'll keep one of these cans just in case I need to add a little more liquid to that. But I think with the about 1.5 cups of the between the jarred gravy and the drippings from the rotisserie chicken, I don't think that we're going to have to really add anything more in here. And this just comes together so quick. And a salad or some garlic bread with this would really be really nice. It would just complete it. And what's really nice is this can be made to this point with everything in it the night before, and take it out and just take the chill off of it, warm it up a little bit, and put your get your crust put together. And this could go in the oven, and if you've got company coming, you could have this put together in no time flat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut my heat off here. I've got everything mixed in really good, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in, I'm going to take a look at the crust right quick. It's looking good. It's puffing up a little bit, so I'm going to take my fork and I'm just going to prick it a little bit just so we don't get those big puffy uneven spots. So now I'll get rid of this. By the way, if you see these over ripened bananas, tomorrow we're going to be turning these into banana nut bread. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow to see this video. So now I'm taking a shortcut. You could boil and slice your own potatoes, but I have two 14-ounce cans of the pre-boiled, and I just took them and I drained them and I diced them up. But you could cook your own, but since this is kind of a shortcut recipe for a chicken pot pie, I just bought two 14-ounce cans of the potatoes that were already cooked, and I just diced them up. But like I said, you could easily pre-boil your own and dice them, but I've never had any problems with these ever, except for the fact that once in a while I miss one of them and I forget to cut. But I'll remedy that quick. There we go. And hopefully maybe another one too. So I guess I better pay a little more attention there. But that's two 14-ounce cans that I've added in there, and my heat is off. So I'm not going to continue to cook any of this, but you can see how nice it looks. And it smells wonderful. Now, you can always taste the seasonings in this too, to see if you think that maybe you want to add a little more salt, a little more garlic or pepper, or whatever you'd like to add. Some people add some thyme, they add different seasonings. And I'm going to peek in at our crust now. And it's usually about, 8 to 10 minutes in the oven for the crust. Now, I have, like I said, I mentioned I used a rotisserie chicken, and it's probably about 3 cups, I would say here. I went ahead and I kind of chopped it up. I didn't make it real small, only because I don't want it to turn into like shreds. I want it to stay in the chunks. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix this right in too. And I would say, I try to always be very careful, and I try to double check this, that I don't get any little fine bones in there. So as I'm mixing it in, I will keep an eye out for that. But I don't want any of this to continue cooking, so that's why I'm just mixing all of this together while we're waiting for that crust to get done. Like I said, you could use the frozen vegetables. I just like to layer my own. I think that it just gives it a much nicer flavor. I'm going to peek in at that crust one more time and see if I need to poke down that. I don't want it to bake up. Oh, hot oven there. Now I do have a can of sweet peas here, and I believe this is a 15-ounce can. that I'm going to add in. And after I add those in, I don't like to do a whole lot of stirring. I did drain them, but that's optional too. You could leave that, you wouldn't really necessarily have to drain them. And I'm going to just kind of like fold them into this mixture here. So I have the peas, the onion, carrots, celery, the kind of dehydrated celery flakes. I have all that in here, the chicken, and I'm going to let it just kind of all set and flavor together while I wait for that other crust to come, for our crust to come out of the oven. And then we'll be ready to put this together. And since this is already warm, it doesn't really take a whole lot of time in the oven to be ready. I think maybe 20-25 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, kind of depending on how long it takes your crust. And then one thing I did almost forget to add, I have a 1/2 cup of sour cream. Now that I've taken it off the heat and I've got everything mixed, I am going to just kind of gently fold in this 1/2 cup of sour cream. It's such a beautiful day to be outside, just looking at the beautiful trees are starting to get the buds on them, and listening to the birds go down by the park. It's a beautiful day for that. And we just might do that a little bit later. I'm just folding this sour cream in though. I usually always like to make sure anytime I stir in or I put sour cream into a recipe that I do make sure I don't have any heat going, because you could curdle it. This is really comes together quick. And it's got a lot of nice vegetables in it. I remember when we were little, this was a dinner that was really popular back in the days. You know, we had real cold winters, and a lot of people, a lot of the guys especially, worked outside, and you know, they'd come in and they'd want a hot supper. So this was something that was really popular back in the day. So you're working outside in the cold and stuff, this would be something to really look forward to have at night when you come home from work. So I think I got that stirred in pretty good, and I'm going to check and see what our crust is doing. It's starting to brown really nice. In the meantime, I'll get this stuff out of the way and we'll be right back. So I laid down a couple of extra pot holders here just to set my hot dish on, but our bottom crust is ready to come out, and it's nice and golden brown. It looks a little ragged on the edges there, but I just didn't want to leave it in there any longer, and I think that it's nice and about ready to have our filling put in here. I love the puff pastry. There's so much you can do with it, and it just soaks up the ingredients or your filling. And you could use leftover turkey. You could use roast beef or anything, but you can hear the crunch in this. So when we put that in here, it's gonna take up a lot of this liquid, and it's gonna really be flavorful. So this is hot, and like I said, I set a couple of pot holders over here just to protect my countertop a little bit. And I am going to get ready to add this filling. Oh, this is so exciting. I haven't had this in probably a couple of months, but everybody's been requesting it here lately, so that's what I thought we would start out our month of April with. So I'm just going to give that one last stir, and Junior, if you'd like to shoot the video down, or the camera down in here, and let everybody kind of get a look. You can see the vegetable, the carrots and the peas and the chicken, and even the little flakes of the celery, and just the different colors there. So we're going to get this into our pan while it's still nice and warm, and our crust is nice and warm. This is really thick and hearty. There's really no fear of it running. And like I said, if you don't want that bottom crust, you could just use one. The top one, biscuits, it's all good. Any of it's good. And I'm just going to evenly distribute this until I have the pan all cleaned out, because I don't want to leave anything behind, guys. My little cat is around here somewhere. He's enjoying the window being open today and the fresh air coming in the house. And I mean, the birds are really celebrating this little bit of rain that we've gotten. And my cat would love to get to the birds too, but unfortunately, he doesn't get to do that. He'd like to, though. But he's a little house cat. Actually, he was a little stray that we found in our driveway. He was a feral cat. He was probably maybe 6 weeks old, and I think he was just about dead, honestly. And we started to feed him and keep water and stuff down for him, and he lived in our shed until we found him in the middle of May. And in October, we decided that we'd better bring him in and make a pet out of him, because we didn't want him to try to live out in the cold, you know, through the harsh winters here. And he's been with us ever since. He's a little baby. He used to have milk every night there for a while. And every night he had to have a little bowl of milk. And then all of a sudden one evening he just didn't want it. So we'd still put it down to him, but I'd end up having to throw it away the next day. But he is he's a spoiled little cat, aren't you? They think he might be even part Maine Coon. He's got beautiful fur and kind of like what they call a scarf up around his neck. Rhodey! That's his name, Rhodey. Rhodey, can you say hi? Say hi! Say, I'm a big boy. 12 pounds, the doctor told me. The vet actually said I had to go on a diet, that I was getting a little plump. Yeah, are you talking to the camera now too? Huh? Every once in a while he gets a little leftover chicken. So, but he's already had his little snack for today. So, and since the vet wants him on a diet, he weighs 12 pounds, he's not supposed to get any more chicken. We had to cut way back on his snacks. No, no more, no more. You've had your quota for the day. You'll get something tomorrow. So I've got this all spread out into my casserole dish. He was going to be named Oliver, but we decided Rhodey, since he was kind of like running all over the roads and all over till we found him. So he ended up with the name Rhodey. And somehow he looks like a Rhodey now. So I've got that all evenly spread out in here. And I'm going to push this back out of my way here just a little bit, so I can get the top crust going. I'll push this back just a little bit. I got a little heat here on my counters from the oven, so I'm just going to dry that up a little bit before I get ready to put that top crust on. Now this one I did go ahead, because my kitchen was getting so warm, that I did put this back in my refrigerator for just a little bit. It'll be just a little more manageable. So this is going to be my top crust, puff pastry, and I'm going to find my flour again. And just a little bit on here, just so my rolling pin won't stick. This can be so rustic looking. And I'm just going to take and kind of take my rolling pin here and just stretch it out a little bit. Believe me, the filling will just soak right into this and be delicious, trust me. Trust me on this one. So we're from the Midwest, from the, Nebraska, and we border with tri-state area of South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. And if any of you'd like to share with us where you're from, and if you have any recipes that you'd like to share with us and have us make, we would love to do that too. Just put them in the comments down below, and we'd love to try your recipes too. So I have taken this and just spread it out. It's plenty there. And if I can touch this, I'm going to try to get this out from underneath here. So now I'm just going to take and put this on top of the pot pie there. They do like to stick a little bit, but it's also pretty durable, so I don't worry about any little holes that might happen in the meantime or anything like this. It's very forgiving, and it makes such a nice buttery crust. It's just unbelievable. So now I'm going to put this on the top, and I'm going to stretch it out first over a little bit here like this. And now I'm not going to trim this top crust because everybody here loves the crust. And I probably didn't have to trim the other one either, but I am just going to take and pull this up, and I'm just going to kind of tuck it down in around here. And my glass dish is really holding the heat. And just try to give it a little bit of a rustic look. And you could trim this if you wanted, but I never have. One of these days I'll make one of these, and I'll use the biscuits. My daughter makes it using the biscuits. It's good either way. Now you could maybe even take, if you want, after you get it where you want it, here, because it's going to puff up nicely. But you might even be able to take your fork and just make a little decoration here if you want. It's not necessary, but if you want to just give it a little bit of that pie look, you can do this. This is a very heavy glass dish. Like I said, I've had it for years. I've got a small one too, just like it. I had a nice bread one, and my little grandson, he broke it when he was about 2 years old. He got it out of my lower cabinet, so after that I knew it was time to start moving my dishes around a little bit there. So I just kind of, this isn't necessary, but I did just kind of make a little design there with it. Not really necessary though. So I am going to cut some slits though in the top just to release some of the steam out of here. I'll just come across the top this way, and I'll come across this way because we want it to vent just a little bit too. Now I'm going to put this in the oven, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes. Hi guys, we're back with our finished product. We had this in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes, but I do check it about every 5 minutes because every oven is different. So, and depending too on what kind of crust that you put on here, some will bake faster than others. So I do check mine. I start at about 20 minutes, and I start checking it about every 5 minutes till I get it where I like it. So this is we've been cooling this now for honestly about 10 minutes, and it's still really warm. And ideally, I would let this probably set and cool another half an hour, even longer before I cut it, because it will hold the heat. But we're anxious to share this with you, and so we're gonna cut it now. And I did, when I took it out of the oven, I did take just a little bit of melted butter, and I brushed the top, and I sprinkled just a little bit of kosher salt just on top to kind of give it a little bit of hopefully sparkle to it. But anyway, we did do that. I just did that only because I wanted to, but it's not necessary. So this is going to be hot, and I'm going to do my best to cut this, but it's going to be messy because this filling is hot. So wish me luck here. These are something that you can make, you know, well in advance, and it will really, it'll take it a while to cool, so you have plenty of time. You could probably take it out of an oven at 4 in the afternoon, and if you were going to eat maybe about 5, you could take it out and it would still be quite warm. I normally just don't cut it quite this hot, so it's going to be messy. But the crust is just, I just love the puff pastry. And biscuits are good too, though. But I probably favor the puff pastry here. But it's going to be messy. I can tell that already. Just taking a little bit of time, guys, because I just don't want to tear it up too bad taking it out. So I think I've cut through this pretty good here, and I'm holding my breath as I take out this first piece. It's probably going to fall apart on us, but it's still going to be good, and it won't alter the flavor at all. I can promise you that. And I do have a little extra tool here just in case I need to get under there with it, since it is quite hot still. But we're just so anxious to share this with you that we're going to take our chances on getting it out, hopefully in one piece. Oh boy, it's hot, guys, and it's gonna fall apart on us, but we're gonna do the best we can here. I'm just gonna bring the plate in a little bit closer, and there you have it. This is a really large piece, but the filling has not yet firmed up yet, but you can see there's a lot there, and as it firms up, the filling will settle down a little bit more in there, but that would make one hearty meal. And you don't have to cut that big of a piece, but we did, and but you'd get a lot out of here. And I'll let you zoom in here, Junior, on our inside so you can see how nice this looks. It's got a lot of meaty filling in there, and it's so hard to believe that that was just actually 3 cups of rotisserie chicken. I mean, this here is a very budget-friendly meal. I mean, you could serve this to some guests on a Sunday or a Saturday evening, and it warms up wonderful. And you can see that it's just full of filling. And you could have a side salad with this, or you could have some garlic bread with it, just anything like this, a nice fruit salad afterwards. But one thing I did forget to share with you guys is, whenever I boil a chicken or I get a rotisserie chicken, I never throw away the carcass. What I do with it is I put it in a freezer bag, and I put it in my freezer. It's the carcass, it's any part of the wings, anything, the skin, and I'll use this to make stock. I never throw these away, and when you get, I can transfer it to a bigger bag, and I'll just keep adding. If I have another rotisserie chicken, or I simmer a chicken for some soup or something, whenever the bones, the skin, I just put and keep throwing in these bags. If you have one of those machines that will just seal it and take the the air out of it, you can do that. And I will transfer this to another bag, but for now, it's just like this, and I put this in my freezer a little while ago. But this here will make wonderful stock, and you'll have it on hand for the holidays or to make gravy with in a hurry. And you can just keep adding to your bag. So I hope you guys enjoyed this channel, and I hope that you will hit that like button and subscribe for further videos, and share with us anything that you'd like to see us make, a recipe or anything, and journey along with Rhodey. He likes to join me in the kitchen sometimes. So have a nice evening, everybody. Bye-bye.